Hi, Nick from Bradwell Manor Farm here. Today is the first inspection of the Nuc, and I was really excited to show you inside the Nuc, but the weather today hasn't been very good. It's been quite cold, overcast, a bit of windy, and I decided in the best interest of the bees to not slow the inspection down by doing any videos and just do a quick first inspection, mainly because the bee numbers in that Nuc, they've only had that for like 1 week to build up, and so all of those bee numbers are precious. It's very difficult for them to maintain a working temperature inside the hive when there's few numbers, and so I really didn't want to disrupt them too much, take any more time than I needed to, but I had to balance that with the fact that it had been 7 days. I needed to check that they were okay in there, queen right, had enough stores and that kind of thing. So I did have to do an inspection, but I also didn't want to slow it down by taking videos. So unfortunately, haven't got anything to show you from inside the hive today, but I will talk you through what I saw in terms of the Nuc and what I was looking for, so that you can at least have that as a foundation, and we can sort of build on that next week. So a quick recap in terms of installing my Nuc. I received 4 frames of bees and 1 of stores in my nucleus, and to that I added inside my brood box a frame feeder and 5 brood frames of just foundation that were either side of the brood nest for the bees to draw out and work. So in my inspection today, I was checking to see how much of the stores in the frame feeder had they used and whether they needed a top up, and whether they had started working across more frames than the 4 that I'd received them on, or 5 including the stores, but in terms of the brood and being able to lay in the other brood frames that I've given them. So that was the key things I was looking for, along with looking for the queen, checking her laying and whether there were eggs there, and larvae and brood in all stages as well. So stores, eggs, larvae, brood and queen were all the things I was looking for this week, and that allowed me to have a relatively quick inspection. With the cold and sort of mixed weather we've had, it meant that the hive wasn't open for too long, and I could check to see how they'd built up and make any quick decisions, give them any additional stores that they might need with the frame feeder, and go on from there. So when I actually opened up the hive and checked, the frame feeder was down to about half of the amount that I'd put in. So it was a 1-to-1 syrup that I'd given them, and they'd used about half of it. So the fact that they'd used half in a week, where the weather hadn't been very good and they weren't out flying much, meant that I left it with just half of the frame feeder left. I didn't top it up because there was still plenty in there for them to use. And when I looked across the brood frames, they had moved across 6.5, almost 7 frames. So including the stores frame, they'd sort of essentially built up another 1.5 frames in that week. So having given them the syrup in a 1-to-1 dilution, they were able to use that immediately as energy to draw out the foundation frames in the brood box and start working those into a brood nest. So it was very, very quick. I did check each of the frames that had bees on them to see if I could find the queen. I couldn't find the queen, and but that wasn't a problem. I saw eggs, larvae and brood, and so I was happy that the hive, the colony, was queen right. She was there and laying, and they had everything they need to get through another week. So I closed them up and got back on with let them get back on with their day and doing all the bee stuff that they normally do. And the only other thing of note to mention on this inspection was, and I don't normally do this, but after the inspection I wanted to just make sure that the bees were happy and flying okay. They weren't, it wasn't a particularly good flying day, but they were coming in and out, and I was checking what pollen they were bringing in. And I was just sat in front of the hive, or just off to the front, and I found the queen on the floor, which has never happened to me before. I saw her because she's marked, she's a blue queen, and she was just on the grass in front of the hive. So I scooped her up and popped her back in the hive, and she was happy to go back in. But as I say, I don't normally spend any time loitering in front of my hive after an inspection, and it was an absolute 1,000,000 to 1 chance that I spotted her and was able to put her back in the hive. But I wondered whether that was partly because of the wind. Maybe I'd lifted up a frame and she'd sort of got blown off, or hadn't liked the cold or something like that. So just in wanting to be completely honest with you guys, it was perhaps it was a bit of a risky day to do an inspection on. So maybe I made the right call in not trying to do any videos, social media videos today. So but I thought it was very bizarre that I happened to be in front of the hive after the inspection, and I found the queen. So perhaps she was a bit disgruntled, but hopefully she will go back into the hive and settle down. And I have checked since, and they all seem to be sort of moving in and out the hive as you'd expect. So fingers crossed they are not too upset with me today. So I just thought I'd share that with you as well, in wanting to be completely honest with how this nuke is building up and any of the problems I encounter. So yeah, I thought it'd be quite an interesting thing to know. So we're sort of looking forward to next week. Hopefully we'll be able to have the weather to be able to show you inside and show you the bees and actually what they're doing. Fingers crossed they'll have built up a bit. I don't expect they'll have built up the whole of the brood box, but I will probably get a super ready regardless, so that I have some super frames available in case they are building up faster than anticipated. And I'll obviously still have the 1-to-1 syrup available in case they need some more stores in that frame feeder. But I anticipate that I will probably be taking that out, so I'll have a couple of extra brood frames available for replacing the frame feeder with new brood foundation, then straw out as well. So a few bits and pieces to make sure I've got ready for next week, and fingers crossed there'll be some better weather we can get in there. What I will do is I'll try and get a video of the bees flying on a better weather day, better bee flying day, so we can see them coming in and out, and hopefully you can sort of see a bit of normal activity outside of the nuke this week as well. All right, we'll speak again soon. Take care. Bye.